It seems like the Snow White movie, it is the lowest rated movie, apparently, of pretty much all time.
Oh dear, it really has been a rough couple of weeks for Snow White, as if the crushingly bad reviews and disastrous opening weekend, where it failed to even match box office predictions that had been repeatedly adjusted down to try to lowball the movie, wasn't bad enough. Then the almost 70% drop-off for its second weekend was compounded by the fact that it got beaten by a low-budget, generic action movie that would have gone direct to DVD a decade ago from an almost—
This is, by the way, like my dad and I spent 10 years renting and watching every single Jason Statham straight to DVD movie that came out on Redbox. I've seen every single one of them. I'll be watching this one too.
60-year-old star sleepwalking his way through the kind of role he's played a million times before.
That's right.
And if all that wasn't bad enough, the film's star, Rachel Zegler, was absolutely lambasted on social media by the son of the film's producer, who wrote, "My dad, the producer of enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie, for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for."
So what ended up happening is that Rachel Zegler, she went and she said "Free Palestine" in her promotion of the, of Snow White. And it's like, that's fine if you want to have a political viewpoint, but when you're using the product that you're advertising and the product that you're working with as a vehicle to do that, then that's the problem, right? That's it. And bro said "Free Palestine" Hollywood. Well, the issue is that like a child's movie, to be honest, yeah, exactly, right. And the reason why it's a bad idea is just simply because, I mean, the movie isn't political, really. There's nothing about it. Like, I think, honestly, if she's saying this on her own time, on her own account, what's wrong with that? But at the same time, it's not necessarily the same thing here, right? I mean, if you're advertising and promoting in the movie, right? You're talking about the movie itself. Yep. Oh, damn.
And so, here we find ourselves, 2 weeks after release, and as of the time of recording this video, Snow White has managed to limp to a worldwide box office gross of 100...
Yeah, it has nothing to do with Palestine or anything else, right? All it has to do is, like, you're making a political message, you're sending out a social and political message in a way that's divisive, and you're using this product to do it. It doesn't matter what she said. You know, like, if she said something that was like pro or anti-LGBT, it'd be the same thing. If she said like Donald Trump is good or bad, it'd be the same thing. It's just like using and like looping in like political and like social messaging into it is a bad thing categorically. Just everything is bad. Yeah, no politics on company time. She was at a press event. Yeah, exactly.
$45 million. I think it's safe to say this is probably not what Disney were hoping for. In fact, it's fallen a bit short of the break-even point, to say the least. How short exactly?
Like
well,
10%.
Lucky for us, the movie was shot over here in the UK to take advantage of a $50 million tax break.
Wow.
I can't divulge information about that customer's secret illegal account.
That's great, but one of the funny little quirks of our tax system is that companies like Disney actually have to file tax returns for the movie, which means they're gonna have to publicly divulge their spending for it.
Jesus, this would be a lot of money.
I think this might be the one and only time in my entire adult life that I've been grateful to the British taxman.
Yeah.
Anyway, according to this recent article from Forbes, by July 31st, 2022, Disney had already spent a staggering $183.3 million on making...
And also, I think that this will hurt her career in a really big way. Because who's going to want to, do you really want to have an actor that gets involved with your movie that constantly brings up politics and then does it even inside of the advertising and the marketing of the career of like the movie, right? I mean, yeah, like her career is fucked because of this. Her what career? I mean, I'm just saying, right?
Snow White, even though principal photography had only just wrapped. The latest set of filings show that by December 31st, 2023, that total had risen to $269.4 million, forcing Disney to admit in its filings that the film was forecasted to be over the production budget.
I bet.
No shit.
Reshoots and post-production work have taken place since then, so the costs are set to increase, though the bulk of the money's been spent. It brings the total cost to around 300 million, which is almost precisely in line with the estimate from expert film industry pundit Valiant Renegade, who assessed back in September 2023 that Disney's Snow White remake cost $300 million.
That's an insane amount of fucking money.
Fuck.
And that's not even factoring in the cost of promotion, which was at least another $100 million, bringing the total to at least $400 million. But, as I said earlier, it was filmed over here to take advantage of that all-important tax break, so let's deduct $50 million to leave us with a budget of $350 million. But then, of course, distributors have to take their cut, because funnily enough, cinemas don't tend to show movies out of the goodness of their heart. They want a percentage, and according to the film industry expert Stephen Follows, who interviewed over 1,200 film professionals back in 2014, theaters keep 49% of the takings on average.
Damn, that's a lot. I didn't even know that. Holy
means
shit.
only half of the
and people thought Steam was bad.
Office takings actually get paid back to the studio, which in this case means that Snow White would need to make about $700 million just to break even.
Oh my god.
Are you serious?
You know, call me crazy, but something tells me they're not gonna make it. In fact, if
I got a feeling, guys. I don't know if this is gonna happen. Yeah, man, that's a lot.
even get to 200 million at this point, I'll be impressed. But Drinker, you not-so-charming prince, I hear you say, the movie's only been out for 2 weeks. How can you write it off already? There's still...
Because there's a million other movies and you can discern what their value is over time. Like, after a certain period of time, like, usually this is the way that, like, a lot of sales for something goes. It goes like this. Like, that's it. And so this is like 2 weeks. And so, like, big surprise. Like, at this point, you've already made most of your sales. It's old now. Yeah, exactly.
Plenty
Everybody
of time
knows
to turn
that.
it around.
Mm-hmm. They're using her as an excuse to hide the horrible movie's wokeness. She's stupid, but it would have failed anyway. It's an insulting woke fest. I think there's probably a lot of reasons why. I mean, she definitely didn't help.
Well, dear viewer, movies that actually get stronger week on week are a bit like Glasgow mothers who drop their kids off at school wearing something other than Ugg boots and pajama bottoms. Yeah, they theoretically do exist, but I've never fucking seen one. The reality is, almost every movie ever makes the bulk of its revenue within the first 2 weeks. After that, pretty much everyone who wants to see it will have done so already, and it's a steep decline into obscurity. Not just that, but there's an even bigger problem looming on the horizon. The Minecraft movie comes out this weekend, a huge IP with a dedicated fan base that's way more culturally relevant than Snow White, which will target much the same audience and almost certainly wipe it off the face of the earth. This, as they say, is it. Snow White has got nowhere left to go, no major territories left to open in, and no time left to do it. It's officially become one of the biggest bombs in Disney history. Jesus, man, it almost makes the Marvels look like a success story.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
And this is unquestionably a good thing, because this is about more than just one crappy movie that people love to shit on. The disastrous failure of this film represents a wholesale rejection, so loud and so clear that even the most out-of-touch Hollywood executive can't possibly ignore it. A rejection of everything this project...
This is a huge factor here, is that, like, the reason why people are happy this movie failed is because of what the movie represents. And I think that whenever they see that the movie isn't doing well, and like the movies that have like these type of messaging, like like it's for video games like Concord, Dragon Age Veilguard, like Assassin's Creed Shadows, people celebrate the failures of these games because the failures are their victories. Because these are video games that have subverted their content, and they've tried to, or movies have subverted their original like source material, and they've tried to replace it with an ideology that's not, it's not resonating with them, right? And so this is the reason why you feel vindicated. Yeah, exactly. Or it just sucked. Yeah, but like, why does it suck? And that's one of the reasons why it sucked.
Represents, and everything that Hollywood's tried so hard to push in recent years. The lazy retelling of classic stories with cringy modern-day feminist overtones tacked on. The sacrifice of universal themes and characters in favour of divisive identity politics. The obnoxious, opinionated actors who think they're more important than the film they're part of and lash out at anyone who tries to burst their bubble. And the constant recycling of old ideas, retreaded paths that were forged by far more talented creatives. For lack of a better description, the message is dead, and Snow White...
I think it is dead. I think that so many of these movies have failed now. You're probably going to see some residual ones come out in time, but I do think that, like, this is definitely on its way out. This is pretty much finished. You're not going to see more movies being made with this type of ideology. I think that they've lost too much fucking money for it. That's really the reason why. They've just lost too much money.
Was the funeral dirge.
Thank God, yeah.
So if that's
rip
the case,
Bozo.
then where exactly do we go from here? Well, as Echo Chamberlain so rightly observed, now that the cultural tides have shifted and we're leaving behind the era of woke, we're in danger now of sliding into the era of slop, where the same lazy storytelling, recycled ideas and simplistic characters are still being sharted out, only minus the divisive political messaging.
Yeah,
and
that's
I've even
about
noticed this myself. You'd be amazed how many times I've criticised a certain movie only to find comments on my video like, well, at least it wasn't woke. What are you complaining about, drinker, you dick? Well, I'm sorry, but just because a film doesn't shove identity politics down your throat doesn't mean it gets a free pass from me, and it shouldn't from you either. If your bar for an acceptable movie experience is that fucking low, then you're never gonna get
This is one thing that, like, people have done, is that, like, they view, like, being woke or not woke is, like, the main defining factor whether a movie is going to be good or not, right? Or, like, whether they're going to like or support a movie. And I feel like it's the exact same as, like, Assassin's Creed Shadows, where it's like, you know, you have all these reviews talking about the game, and, like, none of them are talking about the fact that there's only, like, 7 different enemy types in the entire game. Like, why are we not talking about that? And that's really the other thing, is that, like, this, like, being woke is, like, only, like, a very, very small part of, like, why something is good or not good. It's, like, probably, it's almost always a minority reason.
And better because you're giving the studios no incentive to even try. You're just gonna get more bloated, overpriced slop like The Electric State, or Brave New World, or probably Avengers Doomsday. Hollywood and cinema in general seems to have reached a fork in the road at this point, with one path leading to even bigger and more expensive but creatively bankrupt movies trying desperately to drum up interest through spectacle and cheap nostalgia, and the other leading to smaller, leaner and more creatively interesting new ideas made by people who actually give a shit about telling good stories. And which way they go is going to depend a great deal on what their audience spends their money on. So spend wisely, keep your wits about you, and don't let your guard down, dear viewer.
Yeah, and that's really the reason, is that, like, if people want to support something, like, this is the same way, like, you see this all the time, where it's like, you see this with Black Myth Wukong and the amount of Chinese games that are being funded and made now, is that as soon as people see something works, you're going to see a bunch of other people invest a bunch of money into continuing to make it work. Like, think about how many gacha games there are.
Have won this particular battle, but the war for entertainment isn't over yet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and just before I fuck off to drink myself into oblivion for another couple of days, I just wanted to remind everyone that the Kickstarter launched by Mauler and myself to make a series of short films is closing in fast on our funding goal. We've now raised over $200,000 in the first few days, which is a fantastic result, and I'm hoping that with your help, we can give it one last push to get it over the finish line. We're really excited to start making movies of our own, even if it's only on a small scale at first, and this is your chance to help make that happen. Either way, I'll put a link to the Kickstarter page in the description, where you can find out everything you need to know about the project, the various short films we want to make, and how to submit your own pitch for the chance to get your own short film made. The rest I leave up to you. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Man.
We've just had a glimpse into the...
I do think this is pretty much the end of this stuff. I think that, like, at least this is pretty much, like, it's the same as, like, Concord. This is like Concord. I'll link you guys the video. Give it a like. That was a good one. And, like, Concord, I think, that was the end of those video games being made in, like, I think just in general. Because, like, nobody is going to invest a bunch of money into that if they think that, like, one of these games is going to be caught up and, like, get shit on by this massive amount of people that hate these kinds of these movies. It's been reported the production for a Tangled live-action movie has been stopped on its tracks. Yeah, I mean, I wonder why. I don't know. But, yeah, she thought that she was untouchable because Disney casted her. She opened her mouth and GG career. What about stuff still in development? Well, they'll probably try to recalibrate it a little bit, but I think that, like, new production for new movies like this is going to be going away, and that's going to be it. And the World Games and movies that are in production will still be released. I don't think new ones will be made. Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And just in general, I'm really glad to see it. I think it's a great thing. Like these movies, I think are very obnoxious. The people that promote them are obnoxious. Like everything about them is obnoxious. So I'm really happy to see them failing, and it's a huge W for everybody who actually cares about film and cares about it improving. And so, yeah, this is awesome. I'm very happy to see it. Movies have sucked for a long while now. Yes, they have. They have sucked for quite a while. And Samwise, it's finally over. Yep, it is. This is the beginning of the end for movies like this, and I think that this will be the movie industry's Concord. That's it.